You've been hearing from U.S. independent presidential candidate Robert F. Kennedy. He says he's not terminating his campaign, but rather suspending it, that his name will still appear on ballots in some states. He does tout some name recognition, of course, coming from an American storied family. He did make reference to both his uncle, all his uncles, I should say, in that speech multiple times. But in his own individual capacity, he's well known now for being a very controversial figure and speaking about several conspiracy theories. As you heard there, he did take aim at the Democratic Party, calling them several names, saying that they are not the party of the past, and that's why he's running as an independent candidate. Again, he's not terminating his candidacy, he's suspending it. To understand what that means, we're going to go to New York City now, where the CBC's Chris Reyes is standing by. Chris, we were all expecting him to end the campaign based on some of the reports that we'd heard that he'd taken his name off the ballot in Pennsylvania, for example, but a very long address leading up to saying he's not terminating it. What did you make of it?
That's right. I mean, that was a surprise to me as well, Abby. But I mean, he might as well be dropping out of this race, given that he is removing his name from the ballot in 10 battleground states. And as I told you earlier, he's in, in Michigan and North Carolina, for example, 2 battleground states. He's on that ballot. We know that Michigan is very much an important part of this race. It is a state won by President Joe Biden, and before that one by former President Donald Trump. And so he said he wanted to remove himself from those battleground states because he didn't want to be a spoiler candidate. But what really stood out to me, Abby, in the speech is he didn't really talk about Donald Trump, even though he echoed him very much in his staunch attacks against mainstream media and against the Democrats. He echoed a lot of Donald Trump's grievances against the Democrats in particular, talked about their institutionalized corruption, as he accused, censorship. He talked about the path that Harris had to officially becoming the presidential nominee, that she was able to do that without a primary, without giving a major interview, without taking part in any kind of debate. And as you mentioned, he invoked his very famous family, his father and uncle. You kept hearing that over and over again. And he is, of course, the son of Robert F. Kennedy, the brother of JF Kennedy Jr. I mean, these two men are legendary in this country's politics. Said that in the days of his father and uncle, that he very much would have been able to win the White House in a day where there was independent media, in a day where it wasn't as partisan. He talked about the Democrats weaponizing the government agencies, abandoning democracy, disenfranchising voters. So while we didn't hear a lot about his endorsement of Trump, we did hear a lot about him criticizing not just the Democrats, but now their presidential candidate. And what's really interesting about this to me, Abby, is that when it was a Biden versus Trump race, there was the sense that Trump didn't need anybody to win. He didn't even need his own party. You know, I was in Milwaukee for the RNC, and everywhere you looked at that convention was this message that this was no longer the Republican Party of old, but Trump's Republican Party, with RFK Jr. sort of stepping aside or suspending his campaign, and now, sort of treating the Democrats in the way that Trump has done. It almost feels like this is an ally that Trump might need in this race.
Thanks for this, Chris. The CBC's Chris Reyes in New York.